Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another really special Talking Insomnia episode. We have Lauren with us from South Africa, first guest from the African continent. Welcome.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I've spent, months on the other side of the screen, and when I was going through such horrific insomnia, I never would have imagined that I'm the one in the video. So I'm so pleased that I have like a positive success story to share because I've watched so many of them. So it's great to be
No,
here.
it's fantastic having you here. And I heard that a few times. Somebody, as you said, finding themselves sharing their success story, which
Yeah,
is so
yeah,
wonderful because then somebody hears that, things get easier
yeah.
for them, and it becomes this virtuous cycle. But with that said, you sent an email basically volunteering to be a guest, which I'm always so
Yes.
grateful for. But with that said, just tell us how you started having trouble sleeping.
Yeah. So it all started 8 years ago. So 2015, I was 24 years old. Gosh, time flies quickly. But it's been a hell of 8 years. Um, so as a teenager, I had like a little bit of sleepless nights, but never like insomnia where it would spiral and I developed this fear of not sleeping. You know, I would, as a teenager, maybe I started experimenting with some alcoholic beverages, and I would then have a buzzing brain and not be able to sleep, or I would be up playing The Sims until like 4 in the morning and not be able to sleep because I'm wondering if my Sims are still alive. But it was never like spiral. I never had full on insomnia or stressed about sleep in any way until 2015. I was working a full-time job, and I always wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to make my own money on the side, and I was always a dancer. So I decided I'm going to start my own dance classes on the side. And I was super excited because, this is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to start my own dance school. My job was very unrelated. It's creative. Like I was editing TV promos and stuff. But I wanted to do my dance classes on the side. So I started that. And the night before the first class, I obviously didn't sleep much, but I didn't think much of it because I'm like, obviously, it's the night before a big thing. I was excited but nervous, but the little sleep didn't really bother me that much. And the class went well, and I thought, wow, I'm really excited. This is like a dream of mine to be able to do these dance classes. Now, the dance classes were on a Monday, and it was a Sunday night that started becoming a problem as the weeks went on. I completely lost my ability to sleep on a Sunday. I had this huge performance anxiety, like I knew I need energy because we lived in another city from where we worked. So I would wake up at 5 to leave at 6, fight traffic for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, work a full day, very creative work, and then do 2 dance classes back to back in the evening. And I think I knew in my head, I need energy, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. And I wouldn't sleep. I would lie there from like 10 in the evening until my alarm went off at 5 in the morning. And I know I didn't sleep because I would see every hour. And when you can't sleep, like you start getting those restless legs and you can't get comfortable. And it's just it was horrendous. And it was every Sunday. As the weeks went on, I would get more and more depressed because I'm like, this is a dream of mine. I've always wanted to teach dancing, and now I can't enjoy it because I can't sleep the night before. It's so difficult to get through these dance classes when I haven't slept at all. So eventually I went to the doctor. I'm like, I'm only sleeping 6 nights a week. I obviously know it must be anxiety related. Like I know it's only on a Sunday night. The other nights are fine. It's only on a Sunday. What can I do? So she prescribed me this super heavy sleeping pill that I would take only on Sunday nights. And sometimes it would work, but most of the time it wouldn't. It would just make me like my brain buzz. And then I just feel worse the next day because I'm now sleep deprived and I'm like hungover from this super heavy sleeping pill. I would have been better off if I just didn't sleep than not sleeping and having this ridiculous sleeping pill in my system. Eventually it got so bad, I was like, okay, let me move the dance classes to a different day, because clearly Sunday night is so stressful. I'm gonna move the classes from a Monday to a Tuesday. Maybe then it'll take some pressure off. I'm already a little bit into the week on Monday. Tuesday I'll do the dance classes, and then maybe I'll sleep better. So I moved the dance classes, but I also moved the insomnia. It didn't work because I still had that performance anxiety. No matter what day of the week I'm doing these classes, it was terrible. I used to get to a point where I would forget my own moves, like in the dance classes. I would be showing everyone the music, which was so embarrassing. And at the time, I assumed it was the sleep deprivation, but it was, anxiety, believing I needed to sleep to have energy, and I needed a certain amount of sleep. It caused so much anxiety. It was terrible. It reached a point where I had to stop my dance classes. And it was really sad for me, because it was something I'd always wanted to do. It was always a dream of mine. And, I sent the students like a message on the WhatsApp group. I was like, I said something about not having enough students or something, because I don't want to say like, hey, I can't sleep, so I can't teach you guys anymore. So that was bad for me. It was like insomnia won that round. It was bad. And this was like a pattern throughout the years, that I would let insomnia dictate how I lived my life and what I did. So after I stopped the dance classes, I was super relieved, because the insomnia went away for a while. I was sad I wasn't teaching anymore, but at least I wasn't struggling to sleep for a while. Now, I was fine for a couple of years after this, until I had my first child. So when I was pregnant with my first child, I had normal like pregnancy sleep issues, but I never thought anything of it, because it's to be expected. I was absolutely huge. I could not get comfortable in bed. My child decided 2 a.m. is the perfect time to throw a dance party and kick my bladder, and I had to pee every hour. So obviously I had some sleepless nights while pregnant, but nothing that sent me into a spiral. I was like, this is to be expected. That's fine. When I give birth, I'm like, oh, I'll be comfy again, and I'll be fine. But I was not. So I went into labor on a Thursday night. And
sorry, Lauren, to
yeah.
interrupt, but what year is this?
Oh, sorry. This is now 2019. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So for the dance classes, insomnia, that went on into 2016. It was a few months when I eventually had to stop the dance classes. So for a good 3 years, I would have, the occasional sleepless night, but I didn't spiral until postpartum phase with my first child. So this is now, I had her in December 2019. And I went into labor on a Thursday night, but the contractions weren't strong enough to go to hospital yet. So I said to my husband, you go to bed. I'm going to stay up and rough it out here on my Pilates ball, and I'll wake you up if I need you. So obviously I didn't sleep that night at all, because I was on the birthing ball, and then I ran a hot bath, and then I was on the bed, and then I was pacing, and like I was chatting to my midwife and doula, and they're like, the contractions are not strong enough to go to the hospital yet, so just keep going. So I didn't sleep at all, but I was like, that's to be expected. I was in labor. So that's I'll sleep the next night. So after 22 hours, I eventually had my daughter. And later on, thinking back, I'm getting ahead of myself now, but I think like it's amazing what you can do on no sleep. Like I should have learned my lesson. Like I gave birth to a human on 0 sleep, but I didn't learn. I continued to spiral many times over the years, which I'll get to, because I believe you need sleep to have energy to do things. But yeah, so that night, no sleep at all. Then the next 2 nights we stayed at hospital, and I maybe slept a couple of hours each night. But now the baby's waking up, nursing every few hours, and the nurses would like come in and wake me and ask me how I'm doing. I'm like, I was fine. I was sleeping. Why did you wake me? So I got very little sleep those 2 nights, but I was fine. And I was so excited to go home because I'd be in my own space, and I would hopefully sleep and stuff. But then this was now a Sunday. So I had her on the Friday. We stayed at the hospital Friday, Saturday night. Yeah, the Sunday is when we went home, and that is when all hell broke loose, and the insomnia returned for the first time since those dance classes with a vengeance. I felt like I couldn't bring myself to lose consciousness when I am solely responsible for keeping this tiny human alive. Like, it was that there's no more doctors with me, no more nurses, no more doulas. I'm completely alone. And that Sunday night, I couldn't sleep at all. I was constantly putting my finger under her nose to feel like if her breath is going against it, and I'm constantly checking if she's okay. My husband was fine. He can sleep like next to a loudspeaker, but I was like, I can't sleep. Even like later on in the night, that Sunday night, when I was like, okay, no, she's fine, I'm gonna relax, I would just like lie there with my eyes closed, just watching the pretty patterns behind my eyelids, like for 3 hours until she woke for her next feed. And so I didn't sleep that night at all. And I mean, it was a Thursday night, I slept nothing. The Friday and Saturday, like maybe 2 hours each, and then nothing again. That Monday morning, I absolutely, I just had a breakdown. I I was sitting outside with my husband, and I was crying, and I said to him, I'm never gonna sleep again. I've completely lost my ability to sleep. Like, you're gonna have to drive me to the emergency room. They're gonna have to put me in a coma just to make me sleep. Like, I'm gonna end up in a straitjacket in a mental asylum. I was so scared. And it's amazing when I watch so many of these interviews with the other people that you've chatted to. They all say the same thing. I've heard other people say, I'm going to end up in the ER, and they're going to have to sedate me to let me sleep. And yeah, I felt so much less alone. But I only discovered you much later on. But yeah, that Monday, I said to my husband, it's so depressing to me because I've got everything I've ever wanted. I've always wanted a child, especially a girl. Now I've got 2 little girls, but I always wanted a daughter, and I had my daughter, my husband, a home. I had everything you can ever want, and I couldn't. It's like my brain wouldn't let me enjoy it. It's like it had to punish me. Like, we subconsciously believe we need to be punished or something. I don't know. It was awful, and I was so depressed. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what's wrong with me. It feels like my brain is broken. So that night, my husband said to me, you know what? You're not pregnant anymore. Have a glass of wine just to relax. And I said, okay, I'm going to have a glass of wine. I ended up having 2 glasses of wine. And I said, I'm feeling sleepy. It was not bedtime. It was like maybe 6, 7 p.m. The baby was sleeping. I said, I'm just going to lie on the couch and close my eyes. And I ended up napping for like 2 hours before my daughter woke up to nurse. And I was like, oh, my faith is restored. I can sleep. I have the ability to sleep. And my husband's like, I've been telling you this all along. This was for all the years. He's always told me this, and I never listened. But insomnia is very difficult to deal with. It's easy for other people to say if they have. But yeah, so my faith was temporarily restored that night, but that evening. But then the night came, and yeah, I couldn't sleep again. And this went on for several weeks. At the time, now I didn't do this with my second child. With my first daughter, I would set an alarm on my phone to wake me up every 3 hours to feed her, because everyone said, oh, if you don't feed her every 3 hours on the hour, she's gonna not get enough nutrition and she's gonna die. And I'm like, there was also all that pressure as a new mom to do everything perfectly. But most nights I would still be awake when the next alarm went off. And I had like these babies are angels of mine. Like I know a lot of people the mums don't sleep at night because their babies don't sleep. My babies, like I had to wake her to feed her. If I left her, she would go on for ages. I'm sitting there like an idiot, not sleeping, Googling postpartum insomnia, and on the subreddits, and everyone's just basically complaining and moaning about the same things, but no one really has any real solutions. So yeah, this was terrible. I think what bothered me the most was that, and I still don't understand. I've never understood how sleep works. Like, how do you just lie there and close your eyes and now you're not conscious anymore? It's almost like dying every night. So that has always bothered me. And at the time, it got really bad. I was scared of not sleeping, but I was scared of sleeping, because if I'm asleep, no one is responsible for my baby. Like no one's awake. It was a very scary time, and I became dependent on certain things because I believed they would help me sleep. So after that wine helped me sleep, I was like, I can't go to bed without a glass of wine. And then the wine stopped working. So I was like, okay, let me try valerian. And then I was like, oh, this works. But we get dependent on all these things, and we don't realize we would have slept whether or not we took them. It's just we happened to fall asleep with that thing. So we think, it's that made me sleep. It was the valerian, and then, oh, that didn't work. So it was the chamomile tea, and then, oh, that didn't work. So CBD oil. Oh, that works for a few weeks. I'll do meditation. I bought these Bluetooth headphones and found YouTube videos of those guided meditations, and it just made it worse because it's like you always say in your videos, it's so much pressure. Anything you do to try and sleep is going to make you not sleep. But at this time, I didn't know that. I hadn't at all been exposed to the concept of hyper arousal and all of that. I thought something's wrong with me. All these things that are supposed to work to help people sleep do not work on me. I must have a chemical imbalance in my brain, or I don't know. So I became very reliant on all these different external things, and I was trying to make my body and brain do something it inherently knows how to do. But yeah, I believed I lost my ability to sleep. Now, eventually, like, it started to get better, and I don't know what I did. At the time, it sort of fizzled out and went away for a while. As I got more deeper into the postpartum period, then I got more settled into the routine, and I saw, oh, my baby's breathing and she's not going to die. And I could relax a bit more, and I started to sleep. But I lived in fear of the next spiral. Like it was a few months that I didn't have any insomnia at all. And I was always, every time I got into bed, I was like, what if tonight? What if tonight? If I don't sleep tonight, then I'm going to fall into another spiral and cycle. And I even, no matter how many times I proved to myself I could sleep, I lived in that fear. And if I woke up in the morning, I was so grateful. Oh my goodness, I fell asleep, because we don't know we've fallen asleep until we wake up.
Right.
And I would wake up and be like, wow, that's amazing. I'm so happy. But then the day would go on, the sun would start to set, and I would be like, oh, the night's coming closer. What if I don't sleep? What if I don't sleep? Like, even when I'm not going through a bout of insomnia, it would absolutely rule my life. So this is now like late January, February, things started getting better. I don't know what I did, but yeah, it was okay for a few months. And then it was around June when my daughter was about 6 months old, and she started sleeping longer stretches at night. So she was no longer waking up every 3 hours. She would sleep like 12 hours, like from 7 p.m. to 7 in the morning. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can get some more sleep. Everyone says this is you look forward to this because then you can get some sleep in. And then the insomnia came back, and I couldn't sleep because and now looking back, I'm like, there was this pressure, like now she's sleeping in this long window. I have so much time to sleep. I'm gonna put my head on the pillow. I must sleep now. I must sleep now. I've got so much time to sleep. I must sleep. I must sleep. And it started all over again. I could not believe it. I said to my husband, like, Liana's sleeping long now. Why am I spiraling again? And it started all over again. It went on for weeks. I'd have some nights where I slept. I didn't know how, but I did. But most nights I wouldn't. And I'd be Googling again, postpartum insomnia, 6 months later, still struggling. No. And no one can help. No one can give me any proper advice. I'm reading all the same advice. Fix your sleep hygiene, avoid caffeine after 3 p.m. Don't look at the blue light on your phone. Don't watch TV shows. Don't do this. Don't do that. Do breathing exercises. Have chamomile tea. I'm like, I've done all of this, and all of it creates more pressure to sleep, and it makes my heart beat faster, and it makes me sweat more, and makes me tingle. And like, if I'm focusing on doing things to sleep, it makes everything so much worse. I eventually started seeing a psychologist. Now, this was during COVID, so I think that also added to like the stress and anxiety, because I was like, oh, what if my 6-month-old baby gets COVID, So it was a stressful time in general. But so I started seeing the psychologist, and we chatted a lot about my anxiety. I've also suffered from terrible OCD all my life. And I remember being very young, like I must have been about 5 or 6, when one of my friends told me, oh, don't step on the cracks, like the cracks on the tiles and stuff, or it's bad luck, something bad's going to happen. And, as children, we're so vulnerable. Like if anything we see and hear can shape our perception of the world. And that triggered, I think that was my first trigger of OCD, believing that if I don't do a certain ritual or something, then something bad's gonna happen. And this went on throughout my life. My point was, this was later on. This came out with my insomnia. I was like, if I don't do a certain thing in the day, something bad's gonna happen, aka I'm not gonna sleep. So my OCD got really, really bad, because I would believe anything I don't know, anything I don't do with my rituals throughout the day, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to be punished. My OCD heightened, my anxiety heightened. It was terrible. I worked through that a bit with the psychologist, but the sleep wasn't improving. So we're working through all these things, but nothing's helping the sleep. I eventually went to see a sleep specialist. I think that was really bad. So he and I've heard a lot of people in your interviews talk about this. He put me on sleep restriction. I remember when Stephanie?
Stephanie, yeah.
It's Stephanie,
Psychologist,
with her.
yeah.
Yeah. You spoke with her, and she said also it was absolutely awful. It's like, no, the CBT-I method is like, what is it? It's like Harvard developed, and it's got an 80 to 90% success rate. I can't imagine how it has a success rate. It made things so much worse for me, because he told me my sleep window must be 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. He said I must only spend those 5 hours in bed. So it would be like 11 p.m. and my eyes are closing, like I'm feeling actually sleepy, like my instincts are firing and saying, try to sleep, get some sleep. But I would force myself to stay awake because the sleep specialist said so. I would do ridiculous things like these adult coloring books, and I would listen to podcasts. I'm like, I am absolutely miserable. I just want to go and attempt to sleep. And when it was like 5 to 1, I went upstairs. As soon as I entered my room, like just panic, like just seeing my bed, I was like, now the sleep specialist said, I have to sleep now. 1 a.m. I have to sleep from 1 to 6. Needless to say, I didn't sleep a wink at all. Like I don't understand why people think that's a good thing. It's so much pressure it made it so much worse, and I was just getting more and more depressed. I'm like, so needless to say, I did not go back to that guy. I tore up the sleep logs and all that stuff he told me to do. I threw it in the dustbin, and I said to myself, I'm just going to try and sleep on my own. I'm just going to try and sort this out on my own. And after that, things again mysteriously got a bit better. I started sleeping well, like better. I think it was because I had this sudden pressure from the sleep specialist, it made it like really like peak in the pressure, and then the relief of not having to do that anymore. Like I needed that peak in pressure to be relieved or something. That's the only way I can understand it, because then I started sleeping better. I was like, okay, this is good, but still, no matter how many months went by with not having insomnia, I still feared, what if tonight? What if tonight? And it was like there was this part of my brain telling me, watch out, the next spiral is coming, and when it does, you're never going to sleep again, you're going to go insane. And it was like always telling me, and I lived in fear of the next spiral, because I'd had so many like traumatizing insomnia periods now. I lived in absolute fear. Now, I was okay until I had my second child. Now, this was this year. I had her in February. She's 5 months old now. And again, during the pregnancy, normal pregnancy stuff, I was really uncomfortable. Like her sister, she also thought 2 a.m. is the perfect time to practice her kickboxing. And I had to pee every hour, and that was unpleasant. But I was like, it's the pregnancy, it's okay. Now, I was actually very hesitant to have a second child because of the postpartum insomnia, like, was traumatizing. But I said, no, I'm not going to let insomnia win again. I keep letting it win points against me. I want another child. I'm going to do it. I don't care if I never sleep again. I'm going to go ahead with it. So I had my second child. And I went into this postpartum period, like, fully expecting the insomnia to come back. I was like, I had it last time. I know it's going to come back this time. I'm preparing myself mentally for it. But so I went into labor with Lily, my second daughter, on a Tuesday. It was about 2 a.m, and I'd gone to bed at about 11:30. I was up playing stupid games on my phone. So I'd slept about 2.5 hours, and then started having contractions, and I had her 12 hours later, so it was a bit of a shorter labor. But that night after having her, I didn't sleep at all at the hospital. But I was like, this is to be expected. It's another tiny human that I'm solely responsible for. My husband wasn't with me at the hospital this time after the birth. He had to go home because now we have another child at home that needs caring for. So I was alone at the hospital with her, apart from the nurses and stuff. But yeah, I didn't sleep that night at all. So I had 2.5 hours of sleep, then nothing. I was like, oh, here we go again. As soon as I get home, hell's going to break loose again, and I'm never gonna sleep again. This is it now. My brain's been telling me for years, it's coming. The big final spiral that's going to kill you is coming, and I'm like, this is it. It's coming. But it didn't at first. So when I brought my baby home, I started to do things my way instead of putting myself under so much pressure like I did with my first child, like set an alarm for every 3 hours. I didn't do that at all. I fed her on demand. I had her in the bed with me, and everyone said, oh, don't do that. You're going to smother your baby and kill your baby. I was like, no, I'm going to have my baby in bed with me. I'm going to feed her when she wants to feed. And I felt so much more relaxed. So I was sleeping much better than the first time because I put less pressure on myself. And I was fine. I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Maybe I'm not going to get insomnia this time. I felt so relieved, but I still had that voice in my head saying, it's coming. So it was a few months ago. I think Lily was 2 or 2.5 months old. We had a friend come to visit us who we hadn't seen in a while, and it was a Sunday. Sunday's my my pattern for insomnia disasters, and we hadn't seen her in ages, so we were catching up till quite late. We had a few glasses of wine, and we saw the time. We're like, oh my gosh, it's midnight. I need to go sleep now. So I ended up going to bed just after midnight, and my baby woke up at 3 a.m. As she wanted a bottle, and my older daughter, she also wanted to sleep with me that night, and she woke up because the baby was crying, and she started crying, and then the big one needed to pee, and it was so stimulating, all this chaos going on, and I slept 3 hours. But I couldn't sleep again at 3 a.m. And Daniel, there's something about seeing the sunrise, like if I don't know, other people have said this, like after struggling to sleep, the sun is supposed to be like symbolic of new hope and new day. For me, it's just like so depressing to see the sunrise when you haven't slept. And I think that's what triggered it. If my friend hadn't come over and I'd gotten to bed earlier, like maybe 10, like I normally do, I would have had like 5 hours of sleep, so it might not have been as bad. But there was something in my brain like, I've only slept 3 hours now, and the next night I was like, I have to catch up on sleep. I have to. So I put the whole day. My heart was like this the whole day. I was like just anticipating it and thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to take valerian. I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do everything I can to sleep and take a hot bath and lavender oils and God knows what. I ended up doing putting so much pressure on myself that night. I didn't sleep at all. So it was the 3 hours of sleep the night before and then nothing. And this initiated the worst bout of insomnia of my entire life. It went on for weeks, and it makes me think of your Set It and Forget It book, which I also read, where you spoke about the old lady that swallowed a fly. Like I couldn't just see it as one bad night, like I just swallowed a fly. No, I went on. I swallowed the spider and the cat and the dog and the horse until I just let it absolutely destroy my life. I'd never had such a bout of insomnia that went on for so long. But now looking back, I'm so grateful that I went through that, because that's how I later discovered you. It's like I had to walk through hell one last time so that I never had to go back. It's like you said in one of your videos, like it's better to go through it one last time and get over it than go through it little bit here and always wonder when the next barrel's coming, wonder what's wrong with you. Rather get to the root of it and realize nothing is wrong with you. But yeah, getting a bit ahead of myself there. I hadn't discovered you yet, but I was in a very dark place. I made a Facebook post asking for help before I read your thing of saying, like, don't tell your friends and family because people don't get it. But I made a Facebook post of like, has anyone ever struggled with chronic insomnia? I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. And, God bless everyone. They tried to help, but like I got the same advice, have you looked at your sleep hygiene? Avoid the blue light. Don't have caffeine. Try this supplement. Try magnesium. Try this supplement. And no one knows about hyperarousal. No one said, maybe you have sleep anxiety. Maybe you need to look at that. No one knows about it. And people also asked me in the comments, like, are you stressed about something? Why aren't you sleeping? Are you stressed about work? I'm like, I'm not. I'm only stressed about the fact that I can't sleep. Some people lose a job or they lose their cat. Like I believed I had lost my ability to sleep and it was causing all the stress in my life. Everything else was fine. Like I said earlier, I had my daughters, I have my husband, I've got a lovely home, I've got everything. And sleep is absolutely destroying everything. It influenced everything, whether or not I exercised, whether or not I did my hair and makeup, whether or not I would, be nice to my kids or snap at them. Gosh, I felt so guilty. Like my mood was all over the place. And I felt so guilty because my husband didn't know what to do with me anymore, how to help me, because he's like, this is happening on and off so many years. I don't know what to say to you anymore. He says he doesn't know how to help me. And then I started fearing the health consequences, because there's that horrible guy that said you need 8 hours of sleep or you're going to die of cancer. So I'm like, okay, I can't even get 8 minutes of sleep. So what am I going to do? So I believe, like, I would see my eye bags are getting really, really huge. And like, now I see, like, my eyes look the same, whether I've had 8 minutes or 8 hours of sleep. But I think when you're sleep deprived, you see everything wrong with you. I treated insomnia like a disease, like an illness. Like I would mope around the house in my pajamas and not get dressed because I didn't sleep. I acted like I was ill. Um, it was um, it was awful. I used to, like, if people would speak about sleep in social settings, or like I would fish to find out if other people have also experienced it, so I could feel less alone. Like if someone said, "Oh, I only slept 3 hours last night," I'm like, "Oh, really, really? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? I know about that. I can talk about that with you." I just felt so alone and isolated and depressed. I so desperately wanted someone to understand what I was going through, because I felt so alone that something is severely, severely wrong with me. No one understands. It's sleep is all I would think about all day, from morning to evening. I would get like angry with my husband and my kids when I hear them all snoring, and it's like 3 in the morning and I'm still awake and I didn't know what to do. It went on for weeks. 2 hours, 0 hours, 1 hour, 0 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours on a really good night. And it just got worse. And it was one Saturday morning, I woke up after another sleepless night, and I was it at what, yeah, 1 in the morning. So I went to bed around 11, and it was 1:30. I woke up and I was like, I wanted to check the time, and I'm like, no, 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 don't check the time. Okay, I'm going to check the time, and it was like 1:30. I'm like, oh no, I've only slept like 2 hours or something like that, and I was so upset. I shouldn't have checked the time. But so that morning, I didn't sleep anymore after that 1:30, 2 in the morning, around there. And eventually at like 5 o'clock, I got out of bed and I started pacing the house, waiting for the doctor's rooms to open at 8 o'clock, because I wanted to go to the doctor. I couldn't do this anymore. I was pacing the house. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I was sweating. I was crying. I was like, this is going to kill me. I need to go and get this sorted out immediately. It's like 7:59. I was like holding my phone like this with the phone number ready. And then 8 o'clock, I phoned. The poor receptionist was probably like still halfway sitting down when I called, and I booked. I said, "What's the earliest appointment you have? I need to see the doctor immediately." And I booked for a bit later that morning, and I went to see her. And she's sweet, but she said, "Oh, I think it's the postpartum hormones, and you're stressed about the baby." So she put me on this it's like an antihistamine sleeping tablet called Somnol. It's like zolpidem tartrate. It was more like a sedative hypnotic. And she also put me on an SSRI, which I am still on today, but I do want to come off that eventually. I wish I never went on anything, but at the time I was desperate. But most nights that sleep pill also, again, wouldn't work. I wouldn't sleep at all again. It would just give me buzzing brain, and it's like I would have been better off without it. At this point, I was desperate. Now I'm a Christian, and that night, the night before things started to take a turn for the better, I started praying. I was like, please, please help me sleep. I can't do this anymore. I want to be a better wife. I want to be a better mother. I want to enjoy my life. Please let me sleep. Like, I don't, like, just to help me. I didn't know what to do anymore. And a quick answer could have been, "Oh, I'll just fall asleep." But it's like I had to go on this healing journey, and that was the answer to my prayers when I started going the hard way to get to the root of the problem and get over the insomnia once and for all. Because just starting to fall asleep without understanding what the problem was all along is not going to be helpful to me. I had to go through this one last time, and I understand now why I had to go through it, because it was the next day. I was like, "Ugh, I'm so sick and tired of Googling, but I'm going to Google one last time. I'm going to see if there's anyone online that might have something else interesting to say." And it was the very first time that I was introduced to the concept of hyper arousal. I found an article that was like, "Have you ever wondered why sleep hygiene doesn't work and all these things don't work? It's the pressure to sleep. It's creating more pressure to sleep." And I was like, this is fascinating. And The article I saw at the bottom, was written by Beth Kendall. And I was like, who is this sorceress? I need to know her secrets. I started Googling her ferociously. I found her Facebook page. I started looking at all her pictures of little inspiration of talking about hyperarousal and how it's the same as if you're attacked by a bear in the woods, like then you go into full on, you're super alert because you need to defend yourself against this thing. And I find it so paradoxical, because you'd think, like, if wakefulness, if your brain sees wakefulness as a threat, then it should make you sleep. But it doesn't care what the threat is. It's a threat, so it's just going to protect you from it and make you super alert. And yeah, so I was looking at Beth's Facebook page, and then I was looking on YouTube because I wanted to see if she's talking about these hyperarousal in her videos. And then that's when I found her interview with you. And this video for me is like my brain opened, and I couldn't believe I suffered for so many years completely needlessly. Like the whole time I've just had this hyperarousal. Every time my heart was racing and my eyes were closed, but they felt wide open, and my brain was buzzing, and I couldn't shut down. It was my brain going into like survival mode. And then after I watched your interview with Beth, then I started binge watching your videos. Like, I cannot even tell you. I watched the one with Stephanie, who also had the baby. I watched the one with Pat when she had the rowdy neighbors. The one with Sasha Stevens. I watched the one with Kristen. The one you released the other day with Romy. I watched the one with Ari, Christian, Lily, Sykes. Is it Sykes? My child's also called Lily, so I enjoyed that one. I watched so many, and I remember all their stories, and I felt so much less alone. They're saying all the same things I did. I'm going to end up in the emergency room. They're going to have to put me in a coma. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought my brain was broken. They're all saying the exact same things, and I'm like, I'm not alone. People understand me. And I couldn't. It's like everyone has the same narrative, just a slightly different dialogue, like slightly different details. It's a new job that causes the first sleepless night, or rowdy neighbors, or there's something that causes the first sleepless night, and then you start creating that sleep pressure, and you believe your brain is broken and you've lost your ability to sleep. And it was so great to watch all these videos. And then afterwards I found your book, Set It and Forget It, and I was every night, like every chance I got in between work when the baby was sleeping, then I'm like reading your book on Kindle, and everything started to change. I started sleeping because I didn't fear sleep anymore. And I can't believe I let the fear of it rule my life for such a long time. I used to wonder how all the people you chatted to could sit and talk about insomnia for like an hour and not fear another spiral. I was like, how can they do that? They're focusing so much on it. But now I'm here. I'm like, I can talk about it. I can talk about it for an hour, for 10 hours, because insomnia has no power over me anymore, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You cannot, like you said, you cannot lose your ability to sleep. I would say like I'm cured, but that would suggest that insomnia exists and that it's a disease that needs curing. It doesn't exist. It's just all created through hyperarousal, and you can't lose your ability to sleep. Like you say, you can only lose your confidence in your ability to sleep. Today I can literally break all the sleep hygiene rules. I mean, I can drink a double espresso while binge watching Netflix with the blue light on full brightness, and I will still fall asleep better than if I had a hot bath with chamomile tea and valerian and all the things. And it's just because I'm not worrying about it anymore. I'm not worried about it at all. And even if I have a sleepless night, because I don't know, sometimes you might stay up late or whatever, I'll never spiral again. I know that. I know I'm not going to spiral again because I am not scared of being awake. If I'm awake, that's fine. I will watch my favorite show, and even if I get 3 hours of sleep, that's fine. You get a lot of people that say, "Oh my gosh, I only slept 3 hours last night." I was one of those people, but now I'm like, I slept 3 hours, not I only got 3 hours. The emphasis on I slept 3 hours. There was a time when you were unconscious, and you know, it's good. I feel fine whether I've had 2 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep. I feel exactly the same. But I made a conscious decision while I was studying all your videos and stuff. Like, I'm not going to let my fear of sleeplessness dictate my life anymore. I'm going to get up, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to do my workout, I'm going to do my hair and makeup and all the things I like to do. I'm going to agree to plans. I never used to make plans because I was like, maybe I won't sleep the night before and I can't do it. I'm like, I've decided I'm getting on with my life. I'm not going to let insomnia keep winning, you know, and it has you, the sleep coach school, and Beth, like, has changed my life so much. I always try to remember, like, positive nights of little sleep, like the night before my wedding day. I must have slept like 2 or 3 hours because I was excited and I was nervous. But the next day, I had so much energy. It was one of the best days of my life. We did an extravagant first dance as a couple, and I sang a song as a surprise for my husband, and I had so much energy, and I had 3 hours of sleep. So, like, if we can just remember the positive nights of no sleep, and not like see it as this dark, catastrophic thing that causes you to spiral. And, you know, I don't know where I would be right now if I hadn't found the sleep coach school, Daniel. I honestly don't know. I was letting insomnia absolutely destroy my life and my family. And to this day, I still don't know how sleep works. You know, no one does. It's like a medical mystery, right? But I know that if I relax, I just wake up. I still don't sleep like great now because my baby is going through a sleep regression, and she wants to wake up every 2 hours and like chat and have a bottle, or her dummy falls out and I have to put it back in. But when I, you know, in between, when I get the chances to sleep, I sleep. It's very broken up, but I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. Insomnia has no power over me. It cannot win the game anymore because I'm not playing with it anymore. I'm not scared of it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
No, that's
Going on and on and on, but it's I'm so relieved, and for the first time in my life, in a very long time, I can really enjoy my life again like I did when I was a child. I sleep like I did when I was a child.
incredible. No, that was an incredible, Lorna. Yeah, as you can tell, I didn't need to, you know, prompt you or direct you. You told your story in an absolutely incredible way, and you made
I've been
so
talking
many
for
good
47 minutes, gosh.
yes. But no, it was. I'm so glad, of course, that you did that Google search and that you found Beth. And I was thinking in my mind, like, oh, I'm going to tell Beth about this, and so she knows, you know, what her article led to and everything. But
I found it on Google. I mean, yeah, you must tell her. She's got some good SEO keywords in there.
Right.
Really.
But yeah, no, incredible. And I'll just ask you the, you know, the two questions that I ended up, you know, saving for last, if you will. And one of them is, if you could go back to, let's say the first time, you know, back in 2015 when you started having some struggle with insomnia, what would you tell yourself?
I would probably tell myself a couple of things. I think, first of all, I would tell myself, you do not need any certain number of hours of sleep to have energy to do anything. Whether you sleep 2 hours or 8 hours, you choose what kind of day you have, and you can still have a good day. I mean, I gave birth to my child on no sleep, and it was one of the best days of my life. I met my daughter. You can still have a good day without sleep. Sleep is not the be all and end all, like, of everything. When you're going through insomnia, it feels like the world's caving in and everything's wrong and you're going to die. But sleep is not the be all and end all. And if you have time awake and you can't sleep, enjoy it. There's so much to do. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to watch that Netflix show, or, oh, this book has been lying here for months that I've been meaning to read. Or, I don't know, let me go for a night walk around the garden. There's so much you can do awake. And don't fear it. Don't fear wakefulness. And remember that you don't need any number of hours of sleep. I don't know where the statistic, that I need 8 hours of sleep a night. I don't know where that came from or where it started, but I feel like the same, whether I have 3 hours or 8 hours. Now that I don't fear it anymore, I don't really notice a difference. Like I don't care. I don't care if I sleep 2 hours. If I sleep 8 hours, cool. If I sleep 3 hours, cool. I'm fine.
Amazing. Yeah, that realization has helped so many. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear it from you as well. And then finally, this journey, this journey you've taken, learning from the struggle, has it been helpful in other areas of life, other aspects of life?
Absolutely every aspect of my life, Daniel. I mean, I wouldn't make commitments. Like if there was a family holiday or friends inviting us to go on holiday or anything, I would not commit because I was like, maybe I won't sleep the night before, and I was too scared. Now I'm like, I don't care if I sleep the night before or not. I'm making commitments again. I think I can like have friends again because I've neglected all my friendships. My relationship with my husband is better. My relationship with my daughters. I'm not snappy anymore. I'm more reasonable and calm, and I have more energy, not necessarily because I'm sleeping better, just because I'm not in that fear-fueled anxiety spiral the whole time. I have energy because I've chosen to have energy. So it has improved literally every single aspect of my life. I can't tell you one specific one because it's just improved. It's just improved everything. It is absolutely life-changing to get over the fear, and you described it once as a phobia. Like maybe I won't sleep, and that's okay. But I'm not going to lie there, letting my heart pound like this, sweating for something that doesn't exist. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fear it anymore.
Incredible. That was, again, this is going to be so helpful for the community, Lawrence. So I'm so glad to have heard this story, and I just want to thank you for being a guest.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and I hope I can inspire some people because I hate to think there's some people that are still going through it. So I hope I can give people some hope because if I could get over it, anyone can.
You
Yeah.
absolutely will. Lauren, be in touch. And again, thanks so much for being a guest today.
Will do. Thank you, Daniel. Keep well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.